Welcome once again to New Game Plus, a retro gaming podcast where three guys spend 7 days playing one old game and then we talk about it. My name is Dustin.
My name's Kenny.
Nolan,
And this is New Game Plus, episode 17.
welcome.
Kenny, Nolan, my fellow interlocutors, my question of the week is, what was one of your earliest experiences with online gaming? What was one of the earliest games that you played? Didn't have to be,
Specifically online or in general?
Yeah, online. It had to be at a computer, some kind of gaming experience where you played with other people.
It didn't have to be at a computer.
It doesn't have to be, but I mean, most.
Wait,
most
how did
online
you play
experiences
online without a computer?
I mean, your new systems nowadays, you can play online, I guess, right? But-
Everybody's so young.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if for most of us, I would assume that your earliest online experiences began with a computer because consoles didn't come around to that until
Right.
somewhat recently.
I
Correct.
think at least the first, somewhat serious online game experience I had, and there may have been a couple, before this, but it was sort of concurrent, was StarCraft. Played a lot of that game.
You did? Was that before college, I guess?
Yeah, that was I think it probably came out in middle school, and then I played through high school.
Yeah, because you were done with that by college. You were on into World of Warcraft.
Me and everybody else in the universe.
Didn't you play a little gnome?
Gnome.
No, gnome. Like,
Your
weren't you a
race.
little?
Oh, in Warcraft. Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought you were referring to a game.
No.
What? I've
Didn't you
never
play
heard
the
of that,
game
but it
Little
sounds
Gnome?
great.
Kenny's like, I
Yeah.
want to play that right now.
I was a short little white-haired old man rogue. It was great.
Oh man, I love
That's so
those
funny.
things. So StarCraft, were you any good at it?
I was great
Nope.
at it, actually. That's not true.
He
That was
wasn't.
probably the best I've ever been at a video game.
But you only played your little sister.
No, we played fairly seriously. I had a good friend who was better than I was, but that I kind of held my own against. Who we both played way too much. It was all we did for probably a year or two of high school, in free time.
Yeah.
And he actually played pro amateur. You went to tournaments and stuff, and it was crazy.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Nolan?
I'm trying to think earlier than this, but I think mine was RuneScape, the
Yeah.
MMO.
The free
But I-
MMO.
Yeah, it was so fun. I didn't play computer games till later, anyways, till I was 13 maybe or 14. But I think that might have been the first online game that I played extensively, at least. Can't think before that. I did
Yeah,
play Diablo 2 some because they had a online leaderboard thing that my brother would play, and I would play some with him. But I
I
didn't
also
really
played
play
a lot of Diablo too. It was
Mhm.
not a lot, but I actually played more of it later. But that was
Yeah,
a
me
great game
too.
also.
right. But yeah, RuneScape for me, and it was so much fun.
Yeah, I played RuneScape as well and was able to tag along with some people that had been playing it a lot longer than me, so they would equip me with really good armor. And
Yeah.
then I stopped playing one time when I went out into the place where PvP,
The wild?
where
Yeah.
they kill you, and I had really good armor and got wiped. And
Oh,
so
and they get all of it.
Right.
It's so mean, dude. I love that game.
I love it too. It's great. But one of my earliest experiences with online gaming was it's really embarrassing actually, but I'm just going to be
I know what it is.
I'm just going to be honest and fragile before you guys. It was Neopets,
Woo!
Yeah.
which is a virtual I can't even. So it allows its users to create and care for virtual pets called Neopets, and so it's got a virtual world that you explore with your pet. But then you take care of your pet. It's not as much like one of those earlier Gigapets or or
Tamagotchi.
Tamagotchis. I mean, it's an evolution of that, I would say. And so you do feed and take care of your Neopet, but they don't die, and you can play games online. They had a whole slew of games that you could play to gain in-game currency to get new gear for your pet, and to like just to level up and stuff like that. And so I, it sounds right now like I'm trying to pitch Neopets as a good game.
I know. Do you work for them?
I'm not, and we're not supported by them or sponsored by them yet.
And
but
we didn't play that game this week.
no, we didn't. But when I did play Neopets, me and a friend actually got into the lightly hacking business because yeah,
Ooh, dangerous.
we actually did. And
Wait,
we
what?
would,
How do you hack Neopets?
I'll tell you, Nolan. Thank you for asking. I'm giving away I'm revealing things right now, but we
You're
had
going to
multiple.
jail,
We
dude.
had multiple accounts, and they had a chat room on there. And obviously, smart people know to not give away their information, their login information, to anybody that requests it, unless they're a part of the Neopet staff. One of us would obtain their AOL Instant Messenger username, and then we would just talk to them, chat with them, do whatever. Weeks later, one of us from a different name, we had an AOL account that was like really official, like Neopet Manager or something like that. I mean, really creative.
Super creative.
We would write them from there a really professional message saying, we just need to check your account, make sure that that it's clear that there's been no compromise, anything like that. Do you know your username and password? And then we'd get them to tell it to us. Then we'd do nothing. We'd lie dormant for a few days, and then a few days later, maybe we would take a few things from their inventory and shift it over to one of our other accounts, and then a few days later shift some more things and shift some more things and shift some more things until they were completely bankrupt. We wouldn't change their password. We'd let them continue to make things and make money and buy things, and then we would shift it over to our accounts, and eventually we would launder it to our main accounts, and then have a lot of stuff.
You're a little scammer.
Yeah, scammer, hacker, and a really bad person. But I've
Yeah,
As a
depressed me,
teenager
like-
though, I'd bet you felt super impressed with yourself.
so impressed. And look, there was no, it wasn't real world currency. Nobody was investing dollars in it. I bet you could now, but that was before they wanted to do all that.
No, that hurts me.
It do,
I feel
well,
bad for those people.
maybe me too. But
One of our viewers is going to remember playing Neopets and losing his stuff.
here, this is my public apology to everyone that I offended by taking their fake stuff for their pets. I apologize. Please forgive me.
Can you include in your public apology, however, this is about to segue into Nethack?
It is a very easy segue because I was a hacker then, and this last week I felt like a hacker because we played a game called Nethack.
Overview.
Oh, that was better than I thought it was going to be. Yeah, so we did play Nethack this week, which is like a fairly old game. Came out in the late 80s. And even then was sort of a remake of way earlier versions of games that came out throughout the 80s. Is sort of a D&D style dungeon crawler, sort of a roguelike kind of game.
D&D being Dungeons and Dragons.
Dungeons and Dragons. Anyhow, it's interesting in that it very much has that old game look of actually being a like keyboard character interface. So it's all like ASCII characters that create these real simple, randomly generated dungeons that you have a character that you have to develop and work your way through.
Which
And
let's explain ASCII if that's how you pronounced it.
Sure, I have no idea. You
I
may
don't
correct me. I've read it forever as that.
Yeah, you're probably right. But like, for example, your character is represented by
the @ symbol.
and
So on screen, like you would see old DOS era like art being drawn by like arranging symbols so that they look like things. That is how the original game was designed.
Sure,
was
that's a really
working
good way
that
to
interface.
put it, because a lot of people see that nowadays through Facebook and through Twitch chat. People try to create this like ASCII art. They use keyboard letters,
Symbols,
and
yeah.
symbols to create images, and that's exactly kind of what this was.
Yeah. So for our younger viewers who have kind of played games post like DOS and early Windows and kind of that old school era of PC, it might not be a kind of game that they've ever seen or interacted with.
So the @ sign represents the character. You've got a pet, and which is represented by what? I didn't.
F, I think,
An
right?
F. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Or
then
mine was.
and then the stairs are like the
Greater
lesser
than.
than and greater than sign. Lesser than meaning you're going downstairs, I think, and greater
Yeah,
than
yeah.
means you're going upstairs. Your potions are exclamation points. Your chests are like an open parentheses. So like that's what these stages look like.
Right,
Dots
and
and dots and lines and just a lot of
Sure.
letters and
To
symbols.
represent walls and hallways and all of those kind of things. So graphically very, very old, before even games were really even graphic at all. Based on even older games, which is why
Right.
it has that older game feel. Because,
Mhm.
by the late 80s they were doing, graphic kinds of games. Prince of Persia that we played was around that same time. But it was very much trying to continue in that tradition of not like text-based, but kind of symbol represented, simple, but not simple at all,
No.
gaming.
And since then, they've actually made a visual version of Nethack on Steam.
Oh,
Like,
really? It's on Steam. That's
mhm.
great.
Like graphical is what I mean.
Sure. Which is available because it's since been open sourced, and
Mhm.
because it was such a popular game and has continued to be. I think it's argued that it's one of the actually longest games that has like continued to receive development.
Yeah. I
So,
mean, since the 80s, that's crazy.
Yeah, a like somewhat official release, like from the dev team, I believe, if
Last
what
year,
I read
right?
was correct, came out last year. Yeah.
I would love to hear your experiences with NetHack in our section on gameplay.
Gameplay.
So here's how the game works. You open it up, and it's a bunch of like symbols on your screen and some
It's a
text
command
that
prompt,
explains
right?
the story. Yeah, it's basically a command prompt, and then a little like picture of whatever room you're in, and then from there you have no idea what to do.
No
At all.
idea.
At
There's,
all.
there's no
Yeah.
instructions.
I love
no
it.
real instructions. Again, for those who like played games sort of in this era, like there are some really basic things like typing help or typing the question mark symbol will get you to a list of commands that you can type and so on and so forth. But
Or like
there's
typing
lots and lots of options there.
typing like ipconfig, or no, that's actually in the command prompt.
Right.
I get the two confused.
The one command prompt
That everybody-
command that people actually still use.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you're thrown into this completely randomly generated world. First, you have to create a character,
Yeah.
and it's normal sort of fantasy role-playing kind of stuff. You
So
give
you're-
yourself a name and
race,
a race
a role,
and a role
a
and
gender.
like a profession
and an alignment.
and an alignment. Yeah.
So what did you do, Kenny?
I was a monk.
I was a rogue.
And I did a priest, but most recently I did a healer named Kaladin Stormblessed, and that's
You're
that's
You're ridiculous.
that's who I
For
got
all-
the furthest with.
For all your Way of Kings fans out there, Dustin is currently reading. Let's be real, Nolan. You actually played an archaeologist, didn't you?
Why do you say that?
Maybe a tourist.
A bar or a caveman, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there's some
there's
funny
like a
roles
huge
in there.
variety of roles and classes, which is really fun.
I mean, it does change the game. It changes your
Absolutely.
relationship with your
Yeah.
god, which is a
Mhm.
very important thing. Like there's a
Well,
lot
you
of
even
elements.
have different gods depending on like who you are and what
Different
race you
weapons.
are, and
different
Uh-huh.
weapons, different pets, different
Yeah.
inventory, starts.
That's
absolutely
pretty cool.
very complex game.
Hey, we need to say this from you said roguelike, which a lot of people won't know what that is. I don't even know fully what that is. I know that it's a subgenre of like the role-playing game, where that I believe has to do with procedurally generated kind of levels and dungeons, but one of the other things that NetHack features, and that I think other other roguelikes do, is permadeath, meaning
Right.
that if your character dies, you cannot be revived. Like that
Right,
is
game
the
over.
end of that's the end of that character.
Yeah.
So you start over.
So
That's
you
part
try
of the appeal of roguelikes, in fact,
Right.
or at least for me, and I think a lot of people.
yeah,
Is that
absolutely.
hardcore mode aspect.
It's a challenging game for sure because of that aspect and because of the like less familiar, very archaic kind of interface that will actually take a lot of time getting used to. It's
Luckily, there's a
pretty
help
big-
menu.
Yeah, there is, but it's definitely not intuitive because everything is command prompt based.
Mhm.
Most people aren't used to playing a game by like typing and interacting commands. That's just a very older way of doing things, and so it's a really intriguing game, but one that's got a pretty steep like level of entry.
Probably the steepest that we've encountered so far.
Absolutely.
So your main task is simple in what the task is, to retrieve this amulet that's found at the lowest level of the dungeon. Now, and then you offer it to your god.
Right, which lets you ascend. Your character becomes immortal, and you win.
Demigod, and then that's winning the game.
Right.
Now that sounds relatively easy. To accomplish that is nigh impossible.
Uh-huh.
And in fact, it might be impossible. Let me explain before you're like, no, I did it, or no, I've seen people that did. There's a real discussion that I've seen and that I've read of big fans and players of this game trying to debate whether or not you can actually beat this game without having read
without getting help.
Without reading the compiled list of secrets and
exactly.
Things like that. Not the Easter eggs, but the spoilers. They call it spoilers.
Part of me wants to go challenge mode on this so hard because I didn't let myself read spoilers and such this week. I mostly was kind of learning how to even play the game. It's that much.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time to learn.
Yeah, so it's dungeon after dungeon, and your task on each stage is really to find the stairs that lead you down deeper into the dungeon. But in doing so, you're going to come across many different enemies, and you're going to come across items, and you're going to come across fountains, and you're going to come across
traps, and you'll have shopkeepers to interact with, and altars, and all kinds of different
potions
stuff
that will give you disease if you're not careful.
Items that may or may not be cursed.
Right.
Nolan, you got some diseases, didn't you, this week?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because Dustin just said that you have to look for the stairs to go further down. Like, okay, so the first character I made, I was in that first room, and there was a zombie, a goblin, and a newt. All three spawned, and me and my kitten took all three of them out. And I felt awesome, and I was like, dude, this is awesome. And then I went to the staircase and, went through it, and it was like, do you want to show a list of your accomplishments or whatever? And I was like, yeah, sure. Looked at them all, and then realized that was where I came in. And I left the dungeon, and the game closed.
No, I did that as well. I did that as well.
That's so funny.
I've got an image pulled up. I'll probably make it available for at least you guys to see and for our viewers to see. But I'm on the first stage. I had accomplished a lot. I'd killed some enemies. I'd gotten some items, and I'm at this loot box right before I'm going to take these stairs down. And it says there's a large loot box here. Loot it, and then it gives me and so I put Y, yes, and it says you carefully open the large box. You trigger a trap. Suddenly you are frozen in place. The coyote bites. 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 You die.
What? It's like, what do you do there? Is it really game over?
Yeah. It was game over. I was frozen. I shouldn't have opened that treasure box.
So it's always risk?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure as you get to know the game, and none of us do, but you can identify boxes before you loot them. You can, you could have a potion on your character that probably prevents being frozen. You know what I mean? I feel like there's answers.
That first level is very important for the rest of your playthrough. It's
being a random spawn. Yeah, I had one playthrough that felt impossible, and I just died, and I was like, what? And I didn't know what I was doing. Then I had another one that was very friendly. I was able to find a shopkeeper and kill some low level enemies and get a few items, and it felt much more safe and an appropriate progression. Yeah. And anytime you add a lot of randomness to a game, you're going to have that.
And normally, in fact, in the past with some of the games that we've played, the lack of instruction has frustrated me to no end. But in this game, for some reason, I'm okay with it, and I think it makes the game really fun.
Yeah, it's part of the appeal. It's kind of, though it is a hurdle, part of the appeal is really feeling like you're playing a really old school game, and you are.
Yeah, it should have made me really mad, and it didn't.
Right, but there's enough complexity and things to accomplish, and goals, and not even huge overarching story, though you do get some of that. But yeah, kind of the complexity with the simplicity. I don't know. It had a really cool tone to it.
Y'all both had to have up a keyboard chart, right? You had to have a list of commands.
At first
I just opened it in the game.
Right.
hit H
and would
for
read
help.
it and come out and then go. Yeah, but
That's
then
what I was
eventually I
doing.
opened like a second window that kept some of those things
Because
up.
like I'm trying to impress on our viewers that haven't played this game and don't know anything about it. Almost every single one of your keys on your keyboard has at
Does
least one
something.
function, if
Yeah.
not
Right.
two or three, depending on if you hold shift or if
Right.
you
And you don't have a mouse. You kill a dead body, you don't get to just click on it to pick up your loot. You have to manually hit a button to check what's there.
and your primary keyboard is supposed to be your numpad on the
Right.
far right of your keyboard because you can move diagonal as well.
Yeah.
There's just all sorts of
It's lots of little things to learn. And you actually start the game automatically picking up any item you find.
which
So
you
my
can
first
turn that
playthrough.
off.
Oh yeah, but I didn't realize that. My first playthrough, I walked around and before I could even leave the first dungeon level,
Over encumbered.
my character became over encumbered.
Yeah.
I picked up too much heavy stuff and I couldn't move. So I didn't die, but I didn't know how to drop things yet. And so I was just standing there unable to do anything, feeling like this game was impossible. And so I had to go learn. It's one of those games that forces you into learning how to do things.
The game was originally released in 1987. Since then, it's been re-released. It's been worked on. There's online versions. There's various stable releases up until even December, last month. And so there's tons of ways to play it. But the question that we come to now in our podcast, as we do every week, is how did the game age?
Aged. Both not well and really, really well.
That's always
Because
what you say.
Yeah,
I know I'm such a wishy-washy person. I'm shades of gray.
50 of them.
Um,
It was a reference to a book,
I didn't get it.
sexual stuff.
Okay. I'm, removed from pop culture completely. I don't know things.
I do agree with you to some degree because it's a really difficult game to judge because it was never created like a typical game.
Right. It plays so differently than what we expect games to play like today.
Right.
That for that reason, to a lot of people, it wouldn't appeal at all.
But our aging question has to do a lot with, is it still enjoyable?
Yeah, and I would say on that front, for most people who kind of want to do the retro game thing and who enjoy that RPG kind of vibe, it's actually a very enjoyable game. One you're going to have to invest some time in and some frustration. And it's light, it's light on story, but the simplicity of it and the challenge of it and the unexpectedness of it all add enough appeal that I would say overall for me it's worth playing.
I think it aged well because it's free. It's an open source game, and it always has been. And you can just go download it right now. And if you enjoy, like Kenny said, if you enjoy the role-playing game genre, if you enjoy dungeon crawlers or games where you build your character, even like Skyrim, even as recent as that, I'd say you would enjoy this game. I would be able to guess that you probably would because this is where the genre, it's where the roots came from. It's it's got all of the things that you would expect and way more because there's so many risks involved in it. Now, if you aren't into that type of dead is dead gameplay, if you lose your character or whatever, it may be frustrating, but I think it aged because it's not about graphics, it's not about story, it's just about dungeon crawling, and it does it really well. Even though there's a lot to learn, in fact, you probably won't learn, you just will always have up a cheat sheet, which is fine. Despite that, I think that the game is still completely accessible. I mean, they just recently updated. That also adds to the age in the way that they've kept it updated for how many years? Over a decade.
Uh-huh.
It's
and
just
still
been
popular.
Still popular and left a landmark within video games in general. I think it's really great.
It's difficult for me because after a week of playing this game off and on, I'm just now intrigued on the 6th or 7th day of playing the game.
Right.
It's really been the steepest learning curve that we've had, I feel.
Oh, absolutely. And only having a week makes it tough for us.
Yeah, but if I'm not connected to a game, I'm not going to give it multiple days usually. But for this, like I was intrigued. I was intrigued at the beginning. I was like, this is different than any other game that I've played before, and this is like promoted as the best game ever. You know, like that's their tagline,
Yeah,
something
that's
along
pretty
those
true.
lines of the world's greatest game.
Mhm.
You know, and so I wanted to see what that love and what that desire was. And so I continued to play it, and in playing it, first few days I didn't accomplish anything. I never got to the second level of it, and
Yeah.
maybe that's just me, or
No, that was
I,
me too.
it because I didn't understand, like I didn't know what, but I had to continually look at the help screen to see what buttons do what, even if I needed to eat something, or if I needed to pick something up or loot something or kick a door open or whatever it was. But finally yesterday it started clicking with me, and today I played before we even started recording, and even more so. And I don't know, there is something intriguing about it. I don't. Maybe
It's
it aged. It's really hard to answer how it aged.
Yeah, it's got a charm. I think it's just going to have a pretty narrow audience for who it would actually appeal to. But for those people, undeniably, it's aged very,
Yes.
very well.
Yes. So
Just because it's so classic and simple and replayable and challenging, and
this is why it's difficult. Okay, for that audience you're talking about, is it for those kinds of people? Is it still enjoyable? Absolutely. Is it worth
uh-huh,
playing again? Absolutely. Is it still valuable? Absolutely. For the people that are not in that audience, is it enjoyable still? No. Is it
no,
worth playing again? No. Is it still valuable? Possibly. But see, that's
Is it
why.
worth learning? No.
Right. So like that it all has to do with the audience, and if you're in that audience, this game might like take the rest of your year up as you just invest into it, trying to find out all the spoilers and secrets, and playing different characters. But if
sure,
this is not up your alley, then you won't even give it a few minutes, because you'll be so turned off by how just far away from modern gaming it is.
Hmm.
absolutely. Like the part of me that is that person wanted to like continue playing this game after this week and not read anything and try and prove those people wrong and ascend. You know what I mean? Like
It's
beat the
just
game without help. But like I'd probably be working on that for the next like year or two, just
longer than that. It's not
realistically.
happening. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
you would
very
have to learn the game thoroughly, which just
mhm.
means playing it a lot, a lot, a lot, a
Classes
lot.
and like everything.
Exactly. And so that's the
And
level of
on
depth.
top
And
of
so
that,
part of that appeals. But then,
there's a
yeah,
level of
some of it doesn't.
randomness.
Absolutely.
It's a very difficult game if you're trying to complete it the way that
Yeah.
they claim you can
But
complete
it
it.
absolutely has a charm. I have a question though for Nolan, because he always talks about music and being a like visual text based game. You know,
Hmm.
this has no music. It's
Hmm.
like before that was a thing. What was your playlist while you were playing?
Um,
What did you
well,
have going to represent what this game felt like?
um, the first couple playthroughs I didn't play any music, but I did,
Right?
and obviously I felt the lack of music there, but I can understand there's not going to be any music in this game.
Oh
So
no.
I actually thought it was kind of cool that you can just jam to whatever you want. So I didn't pull up anything, but I thought about looking up some kind of fantasy ambience playlist or something
Yeah,
like
see,
that. That'd be
I
cool.
pulled I pulled up all the like depressing Lord of the Rings songs. You know, like Pippin's
That's
song and like everything that like kind of like
yeah,
feels like you're questing, but is like everything's going wrong and it's sad and it's impossible.
That's
Because
kind of
yeah.
that's
cool.
kind of how this game feels.
I
Like that's
wonder
what I had
if
playing.
I wonder if someone's made a playlist for Nethack. If not, they should because
No, we
that's
absolutely should.
great. Yeah.
Yeah. Like in the bleak midwinter.
Hmm.
Like,
So the
yeah.
lack of music was definitely noticeable, obviously,
Oh,
but
sure.
But not a negative.
not a
No, no, no.
negative. No, I
It's not
wouldn't
the
say it's
type
a
of
negative.
game where it's expected.
Right, right.
Although
And mix your own, you
I
know.
believe one of the one of the additional releases of this game included some kind of soundtrack on it. So that's
Oh,
interesting.
I have no doubt. I'm sure some of the like better graphic versions, and we all played the original,
Yeah.
interface. I think that's
And then
just.
I moved actually to the tile mode later on, which it
Oh,
comes
did you?
with that download, and it's same kind of setup, just gives you a little bit of graphical representation too, and it made it a little bit more accessible for me.
Okay. Dustin, you mentioned earlier when you were talking about how fans and people that follow the game have developed different spin-offs and different versions of it. And you said there's a multiplayer version?
I don't know if I did exactly. I know that there's an online version, and so
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
I don't think the online version is multiplayer from what I understood. I think it's
So is that leaderboard?
online, but then it everybody that's playing, it will like announce if other people die or if they ascend
See, I like
or if
that.
something cool happens. So there you can kind of
Mhm.
see what other people are
I
doing in
also
the game.
know that like you can find other players' bones in your version of
I
where
love
they
that.
died at, and that's kind of cool.
Towards the end of this week, I was thinking how fun it would be to like have a multiplayer version where we could all three go into a randomly generated dungeon. And,
That
I
would be
mean,
really
of course,
cool.
it'd be bigger, but that'd be really neat.
Yeah. Multiplayer would be hard just because it's not like time based. Like you can sit and not do anything as long as you want. Like you just
Mhm.
take one action at a time. And so someone
But if
could
you
come
had like
in
a
and like bring a bunch of monsters to another character while they were not even there, and they'd just be
yeah,
dead. You know what I mean?
maybe you could
It'd
have
be
like a
hard to do.
turn limit per floor or something, like a total turn limit, because it counts your turn. Every move is a turn. I don't know if we mentioned that.
I know you guys are having a lot of fun, but let's compile and summarize our thoughts.
The final shell shock.
So this is a section where we typically address some of our viewer feedback. So if you don't mind, let's do that.
Uh,
We're done with that section. And
All
so
right, let's move on.
this would typically be the section where we do interact with some of our viewers, but we didn't have anyone that played with us this week. At least no one that played and then
Probably
sent
they
us.
all played and created a character and then like
Quit.
died or couldn't move and gave up.
But we would love to hear that stuff too. Like
Absolutely.
I,
Those anecdotes are fun.
anytime we've got some viewer feedback, listen, we really want to interact with you. So send in your thoughts on the games that we play, on the games that you play with us. We would love for you to play along with us. That's a key time where we're able to talk about these things and interact with you in that kind of unique way. And so that's a lot of fun for us when we're able to do that. Unfortunately, we're not able to do that today, but what we can do is decide if we're going to give Nethack our new game plus status, which means out of all this discussion, do we as individuals think that this game is worth playing again? Nolan, we'll start with you. Do you give this your new game plus status of approval?
Yes, and I'm gonna play it some more today, probably.
Kenny?
I want to, but I can't just because I feel like the audience for people who would enjoy it is rather limited.
That's
And
fair.
if I give something that new game plus, I kind of want anybody to be able to sort of pick it up and enjoy it, or most people at least.
I think that's
Good answer.
that's completely fair, and I would agree with you as well. I'm going to reserve my new game plus status for this game because of the reasons that you just said.
It is a fun game though. You can see why it's popular, why it's got a following. Like I do plan to play it some more as well. It's intriguing. So
if you have listened to this podcast and you've been intrigued or this has sounded like something that you would be interested in, just do a quick Google search. You can download this game for free. You can find various versions of it for free and give it a try. You can still send us your thoughts or comments. We might even include them in next week's episode. But if this sounded like something you'd be interested in, pick it up and play it. It would be worth it, your time.
absolutely.
At the end of every single podcast, we like to randomly select our next game that we're going to be playing for the next 7 days. The only stipulations of our games is that it has to be older than 15 years or 15 years or older.
15 years are older. Yep.
It can be on any console, any system. It can be any genre. As long as it's 15 years or older, we will put it on our retro master list, which you can find on linked on our social media. We're compiling that. It's not complete. We need more suggestions. More games.
Not by a long shot is it complete. There's so many old games, but we did have some games added to the list this week. So thanks to those of you who sent stuff in, and that's always exciting.
And so, as always, we're going to spin the randomizer and we're going to figure out and find out our game for the next 7 days.
This really like decides our fate. Like how good or bad my week is rests on this moment pretty much.
And this is Kenny's most excited moment of the entire week.
Of the entire week. It's the highlight of my life. Right
Spinning now.
When you laugh, it scares me or
It's
makes me
unfair you
excited.
get
I
to
don't know
see it
which.
first. 'Cause
I know, you
laugh.
gotta tell us.
Well,
You gotta tell us
it
right
takes
away.
longer for me to tell y'all.
I know. Okay, we'll quit interrupting you. Tell us.
we are going to be playing Chips Challenge.
Yes,
Finally.
I love this game.
Kenny's been
I've
wanting
been
that one.
I've been advocating for it for so long. This is like an old kind of puzzle game from like the Windows like 3.1 era.
So we're going old school to
Yeah,
PC
old
Pro.
school PC. Not as old as we went this week, but kind of old school, like quasi mainstream, you know. Um, so I'm pumped. This will be fun.
We are really interested in having on our first guest sometime soon, and we just wanted to let you guys know so that, hey, if you have connections or if you follow some, Let's Play channels or you follow some streamers or anything like that, that you would love for them to be able to come on our podcast and kind of gush about their favorite retro game with us, then please get us connected with them. Send us an email or a tweet, or send that person an email or a tweet saying, hey, check out New Game Plus, and we would love to connect with them, have them on, and be able to just talk about one of their favorite retro games for an episode. We think that would be a lot of fun and something that we'd love to do in the near future. In the meantime, send us your thoughts, your comments, your commentary to us. You can find us on all of our social media sites, Twitter, Facebook. You can find us on SoundCloud. All of that is NGP Podcast, as well as email us at ngppodcast@gmail.com. We've got our website at ngppodcast.com. You just find us, interact with us. It's the highlight of our week anytime we hear from you guys.
So play along with us. Let us know how things are going, and I guess we'll catch you guys next week for another episode
Of New Game Plus.